Hey, good evening, Southeast Texas. Hope you're doing well. Didn't have any problems with the storms that moved through the area this evening. A lot of reports of hail and also wind across Southeast Texas because of all those storms that moved through. Anytime you get storms that are able to develop in a very hot environment like what we saw this afternoon with temperatures in the mid-90s, storms produce a lot of wind and rain and also quite a bit of lightning, and that was the case this afternoon across Southeast Texas, things winding down. Let's take a look at the tropics and some interesting developments. Right now, we are still looking at an 80% probability through the next 5 days of having a depression or a named system developing in the western Gulf of Mexico. I don't want to speculate, but it's very interesting. The main low is down here, but we're starting to see showers and storms, the convection off the northeastern tip of the Yucatan. So do not be surprised if this X moves further towards the north and east and towards that convection if it stays intact and does not dissipate like what it's showing right now. Just a little bit of speculation on my part. So if that happens, and again, this is not set in stone, if that center redevelops further to the east, that would certainly be a much better situation for us. Regardless, I don't think this is going to be a real strong system. What I do think is going to happen is that it's going to sit in the Gulf, the Bay of Campeche, unless this center reforms off to the north and east for the next couple of days. At least that's what modeling we based our forecasts on is showing right now. Sit out into the southern Bay of Campeche, little development on it. Now as it heads towards maybe Thursday, it starts gaining latitude, meaning it moves north. That's when we probably will see a depression, possibly a named storm. And then as it moves towards the northern Gulf Coast, maybe over north central Gulf Coast, northwest Gulf Coast, it's just very early at this point, then shear is going to be a real issue as it nears the coastline. So that could help to keep it a weak system, knock on wood. Again, that's speculation, but just what I've looked at. And also that would mean probably a heavily weighted to the right storm as far as rainfall, meaning most of the rain may be towards the east. And that's all speculation until we get a hunter in there, a hurricane hunter, and this is then sampled by those hurricane hunters and that model data goes in. We'll see what happens as we head towards maybe Thursday. So that's where we're at right now. Nothing changed at 8 o'clock, but again, the next couple of days, at least through tomorrow, should stay mainly in the southern Bay of Campeche, the southwest Gulf of Mexico. Now, as we head towards Thursday, it starts moving north, and there you go. Look at this is what we call spread. We've got from Corpus Christi all the way over to some modeling, take it over towards the Florida coastline. That means that's a pretty wide cone, if you will. So we don't like the spread. We want to see all these models come together and you see them all lined up in a small spread. Okay, so that's what we want to see happen. So this means that when you see a large spread like this, the uncertainty is high. We don't know where it's going to go. That's what the modeling is saying right now. And again, until a true center develops, these models are going to be back and forth. They're not going to have any idea. That's just the nature of forecast modeling. Until an exact center, an organized low forms, it's all bets are off. So one thing I can say is that we're going to see quite the surge of tropical moisture move into either the northwest or the north central Gulf of Mexico. This is one model. And again, this could be displaced well off to the east. This is not rainfall. This is the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. When you see this kind of tropical moisture, that means that where it does rain, it could pour. Okay? So that's what we're looking at. And again, this could be further to the east. Just don't know. Don't have a lot of answers for you. But what I will say is this is shear. And as you can see, as we head towards Saturday and this starts moving into the north or northwestern Gulf of Mexico, depending on where it ends up, it's going to have a lot of shear to contend with. So it may strengthen into a depression, maybe Thursday, possibly a named storm. And then once it starts getting into the northern Gulf of Mexico, this shear should help to keep it a weak system and a lopsided system meaning most of the rain may be to the right. So this is probably going to be more of a concern as far as the rainfall rather than winds. That's where we're at right now. I don't have much else to add until we get hurricane hunters to go out there. And that's not scheduled tomorrow. It's scheduled for Thursday. And hurricane hunters will go out and investigate this system. That's when the data, remember, we got weather stations all over the land. We've got Houston, Beaumont, Jasper, Lake Charles. All those data points or all those weather stations measure temperature, dew point, wind speed, wind direction, humidity. All that data goes into the Gulf of Mexico, or goes into the models. There's very few weather stations out in the Gulf of Mexico. So what do? We send hurricane hunters in, and they drop weather stations, drop-ons, throughout the storm. And what do? They measure temperature, pressure, wind speed, wind direction, humidity. That data goes into the forecast models, and that's when the models start doing better. But this is called a data void. It's the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, the Atlantic, because there's no weather stations, for the most part, out there. All right, do we have any questions? No questions. All right, let me do this one more time. And just to update you, not a lot has changed as far as this system. Still a 30% probability within the next 48 hours of it becoming a depression, maybe a named storm. And in 5 days, an 80% chance of this becoming a depression or named storm. There's the potential that this could reform, that X could move further to the north and east, closer to this convection. But as you can see, not a lot of convection around that center. It's a weak, disorganized system. We like it that way. Otherwise, forecast models keep it the next couple of days. In the Bay of Campeche, maybe by late Wednesday into Thursday, it starts moving to the north. And as you can see, we're looking at what we call a lot of spread. Some models take it into Texas, Louisiana, and far east as Florida. That's a lot of real estate. That's a large spread. You don't want to see the spread that big. You want to see the models cluster together so that your uncertainty goes down and you have a better idea where it's going to go. Right now, it's anybody's guess. Don't think it's going to be a terribly strong system. Again, that's speculation on my part. But one thing is pretty evident is that there's going to be quite the plume of tropical moisture into maybe the upper Texas coast, maybe as far east as the Florida Panhandle. That's where we're at this point. And again, shear is going to be quite the limiting factor as this gains latitude and moves into the northern Gulf of Mexico. Well, I hope I answered some questions. Did we have any questions?
Just confirmation, when are hurricane hunters heading out there?
Thursday.
And it's looking more like a rain than a wind event?
Yeah.
That's it?
At least that's my feeling. That's speculative. That's kind of what I'm seeing at this juncture. I don't think it's going to be a terribly strong system. Could become a named system, but then again, with this amount of shear in the coastal waters of Texas and Louisiana, as this moves north, then it will have a hard time holding together. So again, that could make more of a rain event rather than a wind event. So that's the very latest. Hope you and your family are doing well. Thanks so much for tuning in to this very special 12 News Facebook presentation. Take care. Have a good evening.